Hello students, welcome to English Speech. Today we are going to be looking at intonation. Intonation. Now, as specific objectives, the things we should be able to achieve at the end of this lesson, which means that you have to pay keen attention while the lesson is ongoing. Now, as specific objectives are, number 1, you should be able to define intonation. Number 2, you should be able to identify 2 types of intonation. And number 3 is you should be able to identify the tones that are used in expressions. Now, let's look at a specific objective number 1. What is intonation? Intonation is simply the rise and the fall in the pitch of one's voice during speech. Now, when you're speaking, when you're making a statement, or you're actually having a conversation, you discover that at some point the pitch of your voice rises and at other points it falls. Now, this variation in the pitch of your voice is what is known as intonation. Okay, intonation affects meaning. You could say the same thing but using different pitch. You could say the same thing using different pitch in your voice. Now, you discover that that thing you have said using different pitch would differ in meaning. For instance, if I say, come here, come here, come here, and come here, come here, you discover that the meaning is different. The meaning changes. Come here, it's welcoming, it's inviting. But come here, even the person you're talking to knows that by that you mean the person has faulted. There could be a problem that you want to address and the person would not come warmly, like if you had said, come here. So, the pitch of one's voice when speaking matters a lot because it affects meaning. It affects what the speaker is saying, the meaning of how the hearer would actually perceive the information that is being passed across. Now, there are arrows, signs that we actually use to indicate statements that are actually in the rising tone or statements that are in the falling tone. They are used to indicate the tone or the pitch of one's voice. There are arrows, slanted arrows that point upward or that point downward. Now, at the end of every statement, whenever you see these arrows, you should know that the one that points upward actually means that that statement is in the rising tone, while the one that points downward means that the statement is in the falling tone. Okay, let's go over to types of intonation. Now, there are basically 2 types of intonation in English. Basically 2 types. We have other types, but there are basically 2 types. And they include the rising and the falling tone. The rising and the falling tone. Now, the rising tone, from the sound of that, we can actually tell that the rising tone simply indicates the change in the pitch of one's voice from low to high. When the pitch of your voice rises when you're speaking or during speech, it is therefore said that that expression you have made, that statement you have made, is in the rising tone. And don't forget, the arrow that is used to indicate that kind of an expression is actually the slant arrow that points upward. Don't forget that. Always have that at the back of your mind. Okay, now there are examples, there are statements, there are sentences that we actually make using the rising tone. Number 1 is polar questions. Polar questions. Now, polar questions are actually questions that require a yes or a no answer. You don't necessarily need to go further into explaining what you mean. You're asked a question and all you need to do is Either you give a yes or a no answer. We have examples here. Example A says, will the weekend suit you? Will the weekend suit you? Now you discover that you go, will the weekend suit you? When you get to you, your voice rises. In that case, we say that question is in the rising tone. Will the weekend suit you? That's a polar question. It requires a yes or a no answer. Yes or no. We have example B, which says, must you go with them? Must you go with them? Then you discover that your voice rises. It doesn't drop, it rises, which makes that particular example a question in the rising tone. Now, the C says, do you like science subjects? Do you like science subjects? Subject, not do you like science subject. Do you like science subjects? Your voice rises. The pitch of your voice rises. That is why we said that polar questions are actually one of the statements you can make in the rising tone, with the pitch of your voice rising. Okay, the second example of statement that you can make using the rising tone is greetings. Most times when you greet using the rising tone. We have example A here, which says, good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. You discover that the pitch of your voice rises when you're greeting. How are you? How are you? Your voice rises. It's warm. It's welcoming. Now, that is why greeting is also an example of statement that can be made using the rising tone. Okay, let's look at others. Number 3 is polite requests or encouraging invitations. Polite requests or encouraging invitations. Now, when you're making a polite request, you're asking somebody for something. You discover that you ask that person that thing using the rising tone. And when you're encouraging someone to do something, or you're encouraging someone, you're welcoming someone, you also do that using the rising tone. We have examples here. Example A says, could you lend me your book? Could you lend me your book? Not could you lend me your book. It doesn't work that way. Could you lend me your book? The pitch of your voice rises. Come in. Come in is different from come in. Come in, it's welcoming. You're encouraging the person. But when you say come in, you're not encouraging the person. It could be that you're just telling the person to come in out of compulsion or because so it won't be your wicked. But when you say come in, the person would gladly come in without having a second thought. Okay, let's look at the third example here. May I be excused, please? May I be excused, please? Not may I be excused, please. May I be excused, please? The pitch of your voice also rises. That's why the rising tone is used in making polite requests. Now, let's look at the fourth examples here, or the fourth use of the rising tone. The rising tone is used in making statements that shows uncertainty. It is used in making statements that show uncertainty. For example, we have, you're sure he will come? You're sure he will come? You're not certain he's actually going to come. You're not certain he will definitely come. You want to be sure. You want to be certain. As such, you ask the question, you're sure he will come? Is the book interesting? Is the book interesting? You're not sure. You want to be sure. You're not certain. You want to be certain. That's also another use of the rising tone, to show uncertainty. Okay, let's look at the fifth example we have. The fifth example we have here, listing items. The rising tone is also used in listing items. For example, we have the students were asked to bring a hoe, cutlass, bucket, and 2 bed sheets. A hoe, Now, when you get to hoe, you discover that your voice, the pitch of your voice rises. A hoe, cutlass, bucket, and 2 bed sheets. Now, when you're listing items, you list those items using the rising tone. We also have another example here. I need a shirt. I need a shirt. I need a shirt. You can actually hear and feel the pitch of your voice rising. I need a shirt, a pair of jean trousers, and a pair of silk socks. I need a shirt, a pair of jean trousers, and a pair of silk socks. So those are what the rising tone is used for. They are used in asking polar questions. They're used in listing items. They are used in making encouraging invitations and polite requests, and so on. They are used in greetings, and so on and so forth. Please take note of that. So let's move over to the second type of intonation, which is the falling tone. The falling tone. The falling tone actually refers to the change in pitch of one's voice from high to low. Now, when you're speaking, when you're making a speech and there is a drop in the pitch of your voice, it is therefore said that that is a falling tone. When there is a change from high to low, it means that is falling tone. Now, the falling tone is actually used in making so many expressions. One of the uses of the falling tone is that they are used in making declarative statements. They are used in making declarative statements, declarative sentences, statements that relay information. They are just there to inform. For example, we have the students are very hardworking. The students are very hardworking. You don't say the students are very hardworking. No, the students are very hardworking. It goes down. There is a drop in the pitch of your voice. Okay, we also have another example here. He is a truant. You're just telling us, you're informing us. He is a truant, not he is a truant. No, he is a truant. Okay, now let's look at the second use of the falling tone. The falling tone is used in making commands. The falling tone is used in dishing out commands. We have examples here. Example A says, keep the books on my table. Keep the books on my table. That is a command. You don't say keep the books on my table. No, keep the books on my table. Now, when you're dishing out commands, you have to dish out that command with authority. And when you're dishing out commands with authority, you don't shout. The pitch of your voice doesn't need to rise. It should rather drop. Keep the books on my table, not keep the books on my table. No, stand under the tree. Stand under the tree, not stand under the tree. No, stand under the tree. Okay, now the falling tone is also used in asking WH questions. You know what we mean by WH questions? The where, the why, the who, the how, the what. All those are WH questions. Now, that's what the falling tone is used for also. We have examples here. Why are you late? Why are you late? Not why are you late? No, why are you late? Okay, B says, how did you handle the case? How did you handle the case? Not how did you handle the case? No, it drops when you're actually asking a question that is actually a WH question. Okay, number 4 use of the falling tone is that it is used in exclamatory sentences. It is used in making exclamatory sentences. What a good result! What a good result! That is an exclamatory sentence. Now, you say it in the falling tone. What a good result! Not what a good result! No, what a good result! What a pleasant surprise. What a pleasant surprise. It falls, it drops. And the fifth and last use of the falling tone is at the end of discussions. The falling tone is used at the end of discussions. For example, we have based on all we've discussed, I would really love for us to look critically into the situation at hand. Based on what we've discussed, I would really love for us to look critically into the situation at hand. At the end of that discussion, you use a falling tone. There is no need using a rising tone because it's the end of the discussion. I want to see you, Francis, Samson, and Susan. I want to see you. You goes up, it rises. Francis, Samson, and Susan. Susan drops because that is the end of that discussion. So those are all we need to know about intonation, rising tone, falling tone, their uses. We can comfortably dish out their uses and give examples without much stress. So please, whatever you don't understand, feel free to ask me via the Google Classroom platform. You know how we do it. I would be waiting for your questions. I'm always available, ready to answer your questions. And there is an assignment here. I'm also going to the assignment you guys are also going to see it on the Google Classroom platform. Please do it and turn it in. Please and please do have a lovely day. Stay safe, maintain social distance. Remember, your face mask is very, very, very important.